Rubio.
Here.
Ryan.
Here.
Hardesty.
Here.
Max.
Here.
Wheeler.
Under Portland City Code and state law, the City Council is holding this meeting electronically. All members of the council are attending remotely by video and teleconference, and the city's made several avenues available to the public to participate in the audio broadcast of this meeting. The meeting is available to the public on the city's YouTube channel, eGovPDX, www.portlandoregon.gov/video, and Channel 30. The public may provide written testimony to the council by emailing the council clerk at cctestimony@portlandoregon.gov. The council is taking these steps as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic and the need to limit in-person contact and to promote physical distancing. The pandemic is an emergency that threatens the public health, safety, and welfare, which requires us to meet remotely by electronic communications. Thank you all for your patience, your understanding, your flexibility, your resilience, and everything else good as we manage through these difficult circumstances to conduct the city's business. We'll now hear from legal counsel on the rules of order and decorum. Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, Commissioners. To participate in council meetings, you may sign up in advance with the council clerk's office for communications to briefly speak about any subject. You may also sign up for public testimony on resolutions, reports, or the first readings of ordinances. The published council agenda at www.portland.gov/council/agenda contains information about how and when you may sign up for testimony while the City Council is holding electronic meetings. Your testimony should address the matter being considered at the time. When testifying, please state your name for the record. Your address is not necessary. Please disclose if you are a lobbyist. If you're representing an organization, please identify it. The presiding officer determines the length of testimony. Individuals generally have 3 minutes to testify unless otherwise stated. When your time is up, the presiding officer will ask you to conclude. Disruptive conduct, such as shouting, refusing to conclude your testimony when your time is up, or interrupting others' testimony or council deliberations will not be allowed. If there are disruptions, a warning will be given that further disruption may result in the person being placed on hold or ejected from the remainder of the electronic meeting. Please be aware that all council meetings are recorded.
Thank you very much. First up is communications. First individual, please, Keelam, item number 142.
Request of Alexander Hayden Stein to address council regarding Antifa support group.
Hello, Mayor Ted. My name's Alex Stein, and I appreciate you letting me come here today.
You've muted yourself. Alexander, you're on mute.
Hello. Hey, Mayor Ted. Okay, my name's Alex Stein. I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to talk to y'all, but this is the big problem. Shaky Sarah just got shot. Y'all know that. Y'all are not protecting our people. Y'all need to defund the police. You know, Joanne Hardesty knows these police officers, they're not going to help us. You're letting all these Andy No right-wing people just come and just shoot our people like that. That's not cool. And another thing is Joe Biden is saying that he's funding crack pipes. We don't need crack pipes. We have foil. Like, we have plenty of crack pipes. We don't need crack pipes. What we need we got plenty of foil. What we need is tests so we can test the dope. Because I'm telling you, we're getting bad dope. Dude, I'm telling you, like, you get this dope right here, guys. This is clean stuff. But if I had a testing strip, instead I had to do the fentanyl myself. And I'm like, and I got to test it myself. And dude, this is not good dope. So I'm telling you, Joe Biden, we're not worried about the freaking crack pipes. What we need ways to test the dope so we know it's clean, because in Portland, we got all these cars on fire. People are getting dope from dead bodies and they're using that dope and they're not testing dope that somebody died. They'll get a dead body, somebody just OD'd, and they'll take that dope and use it. So we need to defund the cops, because the cops are annoying. Dude, the cops aren't chill about smoking crack. They're lame about that. Like, I was hitting this. I was, doing some bumps in front of these cops. And they didn't arrest me but still, they gave me this look like they were going to arrest me. And that's enough. Like, Listen, my wife worked at a bank for 11 years, and now they're trying to get me for child support. I'm not leaving. I've been parked in this. They're never going to find my El Camino. I've been parked here for a month, and they don't know. And so, Hardy, Joanne Hardesty, I love you. I respect you. We need to defund these police officers are evil. Anybody with a badge and a gun deserves to, they deserve what's coming for them. So y'all come and mess with Antifa again. R.I.P. Shaky Sarah. She had to die because some furry right-winger Andy No fan is trying to freaking, come here and play cops. And let me tell you something. The real cops are Antifa. You guys know that we're the real people that protect the people. So you can come to Portland. You can use dope, Ted, and nobody. It's chill. Like, dude, we were doing crack on this sunken boat. It was so tight. So Portland is one of the most tightest places, Ted. And like I said, dude, you let us burn down that federal building, and all those guys on January 6th are going to jail for forever. So I just want to say I really appreciate Portland. It is an awesome place. If you guys want to know, Shaky Ted has got some of the best fentanyl. Portland's got the cleanest fentanyl ever. So, Joe, we don't need the crack pipes. We got plenty of foil and straws. What we need dope testing kits, and we need Joanne Hardesty to be the mayor because Ted Wheeler's terrible. Joanne Hardesty is the best ever. She's going to defund the police. I love her. She's like,
I believe the speaker's time is up.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, Joanne, you rock. I love you.
Next item, please, 143.
Request of Courtney Dillard to address council regarding legislation to ban the sale of foie gras.
Good morning. Courtney, are you there? There she is. Courtney, we can't hear you for some reason.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you and see you. Good morning.
Perfect. Sorry about that. Thank you, Mayor Wheeler and City Commissioners, for hearing my testimony this morning. My name is Courtney Dillard, and I've been a proud Portland resident for over 20 years. I know that this body has many important issues that are currently under consideration, and I also know that you have heard previous testimony in support of a city ban on the sale of foie gras. So I will be brief. Taking a break, mothers are strolling their kids in the park, and runners and cyclists stream by on the esplanade as a few geese mingle about foraging in the grass, as they often do in April. Now imagine that all of a sudden, a young man runs towards the flock and grabs one by the neck, and when her mouth opens, he shoves a tube down her throat and begins pumping her stomach full despite her protests. Cries ring out from all corners of the park. Children start crying. They're bewildered and terrified. Everyone witnessing this is shocked and angry. People start looking around for someone to stop this brutal act, for an official to step in and protect this defenseless creature. I believe that you all are those officials. And while the brutality of foie gras operations does not happen in the open like this, it is nonetheless brutality, and we know it when we see it. Please support a ban on the sale of foie gras in our community. Intervene here, just as you would have at Waterfront Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next individual, please, Keelan, item number 144.
Request of Claire Coleman Evans to address council regarding the transition of the Southwest District from a nonprofit coalition to a city staffed district neighborhood office.
Good morning, Claire.
You there?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. My
Welcome.
name is Claire Coleman Evans, and I live in Bridal Mile, and I was a member of the Bridal Mile Neighborhood Association since 2005. What I'm wanting to talk about is I started a grievance with the BNA back in September 25th, and I have done the grievance process all the way up to Civic Life. I gave them on February 9th my grievance. I have not heard anything back from them. other than that they want to meet and that they want to do something other than what the standards require. My concern is what happened on March 3rd with the ordinance 190321. There wasn't enough information. You voted to appeal this without seeing all the information. On May 18th, the ACETA audit came out, which we all know was not good for civic life. So my request here is that I would like the city auditor to please do an audit of what has happened since this ordinance has come out, whether or not we're getting served. And then I want to ask a question to Rubio and Ryan. Had you known, or had you had the ACETA audit, would you have voted the same way? Because I think you did not have all the information. There's history of what has happened to Sweeney, and I think Sweeney has been singled out, and we were not given a chance to rectify the situation. Instead, it was just take money away, and the money was taken away during a pandemic. Who does that? Who takes money away to Southwest Portland neighborhoods, which was 20% of Portland? Who does that? Who takes money away? Why do you not try to work and find a resolution? Instead, we were told that we would get services. We did not get services. People weren't even hired until much later. So they asked for our patience. Like, things don't just stop. So I would like the city auditor to please review everything that has happened and then bring this ordinance up again for discussion, because I think a lot of information has come out that you did not know prior to when you voted. So.
Thank you, Claire. And I know the auditor's team is listening to this. And I'm not sure either of the two offices are in a position to be able to answer your question specifically right now, but they can follow up with you at a later time. We appreciate your being here this morning and sharing your perspective. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next individual, please. Keelan, item number 145, please.
Request of Robert Butler to address council regarding Portland Bureau of Transportation negligence.
Good morning. Robert, can you unmute? There you go. Good morning.
Request of the council. That is that I have a cohort here that will be scheduled to speak on the same subject as I am. She is here to speak in my place, and I would like to switch with her on the March 9th agenda. So this is a request of the council to let me turn the mic, so to speak, over to Fatima Magamadova, who's scheduled for March 9th, and I will take her place on March 9th, and she will begin their 3-minute testimony now. Request of that permit.
Yeah, if I could, Robert, ordinarily, we would ask people to sign up for the slot that they are able to speak at, but I did overhear the conversation between yourself and the council clerk, and it sounds like there's no issue. Is there, Keelan, switching that?
No, we can accommodate that request.
Perfect. All right, good. Thank you both. And I will let you continue on with your presentation. Good morning.
Good morning to the honorable members of the City Council. My name is Fatima Magamadova, and I'm the owner of Roman Russian grocery store. I'm here to speak on behalf of Slavic-owned businesses on Southeast Division Street for relief from PBOT's Division Street project. I'm representing 6 Slavic businesses on Southeast Division Street between 104th and 112th Avenue. PBOT is trying to build a concrete center median to obstruct the Slavic community to our businesses. I first became aware of this project in 2017 from a third party where PBOT clearly stated that the median will not be built westerly of 112th Avenue. Even though project was not affecting me, I still vocally criticized any future median that would destroy businesses. As a consequence, I was deliberately denied the invitation to PBOT subsequent meetings. I believe this was because my strong Russian accent and known opposition against this project. None of these 6 Slavic businesses were informed of any expansion of the project westerly of 112th Avenue. PBOT's intentions were irresponsible and exclusionary towards the Slavic community, driven by my strong criticism during the first 2017 meeting. Our Slavic neighbors were also excluded, and why was the Slavic community treated differently? PBOT never reached out to us to be included in the public process. PBOT redlined us to avoid research of our transportation needs. Elizabeth Tillstrom stated, "We don't care about your patrons' parking needs." And just a moment ago, she responded to our concerns with more head fakes, deflections, and untruths. Contrary to what she stated, she still refuses to understand that many of our clients are elderly, large families with 8-10 kids. Right now, they can park next to the store and safely walk inside to get their medication, groceries, and to be connected to people who speak their language. The changes mean that they will have to park many blocks away and will have to cross Division Street with city says has 35,000 cars per day. To find any parking spaces on residential street, our customers will have to make unsafe U-turn. We have 300 trips a day to our store, with 60% of them coming from an easterly direction. After detouring, half of them will be trying to U-turn across heavy traffic without protection of a signal light, 1/4 of the mile from our store. It will prevent access for freight, creating hazard conditions for drivers, and blocking their view of pedestrians and bicyclists in the area. I want to emphasize that these changes will create more unsafe conditions and will lead to additional vehicle crashes, pedestrian injuries, and deaths to our customers and employees. What we need under City Council's directions, with ongoing oversight of the PBOS division project for objective professional engineering changes to this optional last-minute section, made without advanced warning. This includes safe routes for our grocery customers instead of concrete crash killer with Russian roulette detours. Also to retain on-street parking in front of our store. Lastly, to provide safe and efficient access for the truck deliveries, as well to other extended members of our Slavic community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate your being here today. And Robert, we'll see you on the 9th then.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Commissioner Hardesty, I apologize. Go ahead.
No worries. Mr. Mayor, thank you. And thank you for your testimony. Let me just say that there is a bit more to this story than what we have heard. I have Elizabeth Tillstrom here from PBOT, who has been in charge of the safety improvement project on Division. And would ask her to respond to what was said. And just for the speaker, this won't be a conversation. You've had your 3 minutes, so we're going to just have PBOT respond to what you've said. Thank you. Elizabeth?
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Hardesty, and good morning, Mayor and Council. Elizabeth Tillstrom with the City of Portland Bureau of Transportation. To respond to Fatima's testimony this morning. Our outreach included the whole corridor, all adjacent business and property owners north and south of the corridor through our outreach and mailings and public open houses. We are working currently with this business owner to accommodate their freight needs on Division along the curbside. It includes amending the design to remove the vertical protection so that semi trucks may temporarily block the bike lane while they have active loading and unloading activities at the store. And then we have provided graphics showing where the U-turns will be on either side of the store to accommodate passenger vehicle access as part of our access management plan. We plan on continuing to work with this business to make sure we're accommodating their freight needs.
And Elizabeth, could you say, why are we doing this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason we're doing this multimodal safety project is to address the serious issues on the corridor, the design of the roadway itself, and especially that dual left turn center median has resulted in a high number of fatals or serious injury crashes over the years. Over the last 10 years specifically, we've had 20 fatalities on this corridor and 107 serious injuries involving motor vehicles, pedestrians, and cyclists. And so the goal of this project is to really apply safety tools that will help reduce those potential crashes, just due to the inherent the design of the roadway itself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. One last question. When did we start this project? What year did it begin?
Yeah, it started, so City Council through an emergency ordinance in December of 2016 initiated the Outer Division project. And then we worked on it from 2017 to present. So it took a few years to design it, especially in close coordination with TriMet's Division Transit Project, since our project areas overlap. So, yeah.
Excellent, succinct answers to my question. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I really appreciate you being here this morning. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Yep, you bet. Thank you. That completes communications. We'll move to the consent agenda. Have any items been pulled off of the consent?
Mayor, I'm sorry. We actually do have one more communication.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Yes, 146, please. Sorry, Rick.
Request of Rick Ayala to address council regarding existing approach to crime and homelessness.
Good morning.
Rick, you're muted.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Rick Ayala, and I have lived in Portland for 10 years. Our city is in crisis, and I come before the city council today with a plea. Do what is wise and prudent, not what seems expedient. To put Portland back on track, this council is going to have to relearn something every successful civilization has understood going back thousands of years. In order to have a prosperous and stable society, some amount of compulsion will be necessary. You simply cannot remove all limits on what people are allowed to do. We've had 2 years of eviction moratorium in place and readily available unemployment benefits. The explosion in homelessness over that time period has not been the result of expensive rents. The chronic homelessness visible in the camps around our city is primarily driven by drug addiction and to a lesser extent, mental illness. This council has failed to dissuade individuals from camping in public spaces around our city, and it has demonized police, leading to demoralization and a dwindling number of officers on patrol. In combination with a weak DA, we have openly signaled that Portland is a destination city for drug use, street life, and delinquency. When it comes to homelessness, the only way forward is tough love. Rehabilitation, mental health services, and shelter on the one hand, and absolute limits on unsanctioned camping and crime on the other. Rather than learn from the mistakes of cities like San Francisco and the successes of cities like Miami, we are following the same failed formula that has become the orthodoxy of the West Coast. Unfortunately, once one normalizes an undesirable set of behaviors, any attempt to later correct the issue by reimposing limits is going to be perceived by some people as cruelty. Ignore this group. Their view is myopic and fails to realize the greater amount of suffering that will be generated should we let things continue as they have. There is nothing compassionate about hyper-concentrating addicts and the mentally ill on our streets. This is not how we would approach a family member or friend struggling with drug addiction. Instead, we ought to extend a hand in aid while simultaneously being firm on boundaries. That is true compassion. Homeless individuals that were not residents of Portland at the moment they became homeless should ideally be reconnected with whatever friends, family, or support systems they may have left in their home states and cities. It is untenable to insist the Portland taxpayer should shoulder the burden of every tragedy that makes its way into the county. With regards to policing, realize you will never find angels to staff any police department. In this world, all we have are human beings. Police accountability can be improved gradually and with care, but if you put this process in the hands of ideologues, you will continue to alienate the very entity that makes governance possible. The defining characteristic of government is that it exercises a monopoly on the legitimate use of force over a territory. When the institution of policing crumbles, the resulting power vacuum leads inevitably to spikes in crime and lawlessness, as we are now witnessing in Portland. Ignore the zealots and ideologues and start listening to the previously silent majority. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick, for being here today. That leaves us, that completes communications. Sorry, I jumped the gun on that earlier. Consent agenda, Keelan, have any items been pulled?
Item 148 has been pulled.
148 has been pulled. Please call the roll on the remainder of the consent agenda.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Hardesty.
Aye.
Naps.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The consent agenda is adopted. Colleagues, since I'm going to be leaving early today and because we have some appointees on a limited time frame here. I'm going to move things around a little bit. I'd like to move to items 157 and 158 on the regular agenda, please.
Item 157, amend the Community Budget Advisory Board to allow participation of those who live, work, worship, play, or go to school in Portland. And item 158, appoint James Parker and Annette Matson to the Community Budget Advisory Board for terms to expire December 31st, 2024.
Colleagues, as you'll recall, we continued this item. I'm going to pass this over to Director Jessica Kennard from the City Budget Office. We do have Annette here this morning, and I know she'd like to make a few comments. Unfortunately, we do not have James today, but we did have the opportunity to hear a little bit from James last time we raised this. But with that, I'll turn it over to you, Keelan. Jessica, I'm sorry.
That's all right. Thank you, Mayor.
Sorry, Keelan, now you're not only in charge of City Council, you're in charge of our budget too.
Good morning, Mayor, members of the council. For the record, again, my name is Jessica Kennard. I am the city's budget director, and thank you to the council for considering this item a little earlier today. We have returned to you with this item as it is connected to one of the appointees today. Since the last time I came before you, I had conversations with members of your office on this item. We greatly appreciate your support today in moving forward with these appointees, and I am committed to continuing to work with you to ensure that this board supports the council's goals for direct community advice through the budget process. Today, we're asking for your support for this resolution and the report accepting James Allen Parker and Annette Matson as new members of the Citywide Community Budget Advisory Board. James Parker was present at our meeting 2 weeks ago to give an overview of his experience and interest in the board. And as a brief reminder of his background, he is an enrolled citizen of the Chippewa Cree Tribal Nation. He's lived in the Portland area with his family for over 10 years and is the executive director of the Oregon Native American Chamber. We're joined today by Annette Matson, to whom I will turn the floor over to share her experience and interest in serving on the board. Annette will be filling the board seat vacated by Frida Christopher, who concluded her 2 3-year terms as an advisor on the board at the end of December. With that, I'll turn it over to Annette.
Thank you so much, Mayor Wheeler and members of the council. Just briefly, I so appreciate the opportunity to serve the city I love in this way. As some of you have heard me say, I've been a resident of East Portland since before we were annexed into Portland. And I just hope that with my experience on the Powell Valley Road Budget Committee, the David Douglas School District Budget Committee, and now the Mount Hood Community College Budget Committee, that I can make a positive contribution to the budget process and on the advisory committee. So thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate your being here today. Colleagues, anybody have any questions or thoughts prior to calling for a vote?
Mayor, I just want to thank Director Kennard for her due diligence in answering our questions. And I also want to reiterate to James how thrilled we are that he wants to be a part of our budget committee. I will say that I have no hesitation about supporting these 2 proposals today, and just wanted to say thank you, Mayor, for giving us the additional time, and thank you, Director Kennard, for, as always, your brilliance in helping us think through some of this stuff.
Thank you, appreciate it. Colleagues, we'll do the resolution first. Keelan, do we have any testimony on the resolution?
No, Mayor.
Very good, please call the roll.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Yes, thank you. And I also want to reiterate that I appreciate that we had a chance to actually ask some questions. This is really smart legislation. Both of these individuals are part of Portland, and it's a great example of the 2 that we're approving today. But I just think it was really smart to take a breath and dig a little bit deeper into the questions, and so we can feel really solid about this. I vote aye.
Hardesty.
Aye.
Max.
I have a question for staff. Did we read the resolution 157, or do we need to read it? Is it this morning?
Keelan's already read the resolution, and
all right, I must have just zoned out on that piece. I vote aye.
Wheeler.
I vote aye. The resolution is adopted. I'll entertain a motion to accept the report.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Ryan. Any further discussion on the report? Keelan, is there any testimony on the report?
No, Mayor.
please call the roll.
Rubio.
I just want to thank both of these volunteers for their leadership and service in our community in numerous ways. Portland owes a debt of gratitude to James and his family for all the tremendous ways that they've shaped this community through advocacy and justice work. And Annette, we're thrilled to have you in this role and appreciate your leadership and decades of advocacy and education on behalf of students and families. And your experience with public budgeting will be very valuable. So congratulations to you both, and I vote aye.
Ryan.
Yes, I'm delighted to speak up on both of these appointees. James, I've been bumping into you for over a decade at least. Usually it was at Native American events, especially NAIA events. And Annette Matson, you're a rock star in the schools world. You've been doing service work for decades. This must be the David Douglas School Board seat, since you're replacing the amazing Frida. And it's just so wonderful to have someone with your depth of knowledge about our city and especially about East Portland. So thank you so much for leaning in and providing your expertise on this important committee. I vote aye.
Hardesty.
I want to also thank James for his decades of work around justice and bringing people together to solve really complex problems. He's going to be a very welcome addition to our Budget Advisory Committee. And that, as has already been said, you're already a rock star, and anybody that goes through that many public budgets is my shero, because they are not easy documents to dive into, and your expertise is really going to help us through this budget cycle. And I appreciate your partnership as the other East Portland representative. I will say that having someone with deep knowledge of East Portland in this process is really valuable for me and for the rest of the council. So I'm very happy today to vote aye.
I want to thank Mr. Parker and Ms. Matson for agreeing to serve on this important board. I vote aye.
Wheeler.
I want to thank James and Annette for their willingness to serve. This obviously requires a significant and long-term commitment that's critical to our city's budget engagement practices. Little known trivia, Annette, since you're here, and I think James knows this too. I really got my start in city government by serving as a budget advisor, citizen budget advisor for the city of Portland when Mayor Potter was mayor. And I absolutely enjoyed the experiences. I know you will. It gives you a view into city government, unlike any other, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we will benefit tremendously from your and James' depth of knowledge. Super happy that you're willing to step up and serve with us. And I hope you have a little bit of fun along the way too. So I'm happy to vote aye. The report's accepted. The appointments are approved. Thank you to you and James, Annette, and Director Kennard. Thanks to you as always. Appreciate it. Colleagues, we will go to the time certain agenda. And that gives us time certain item number 147, please.
Assess benefited properties for street, sidewalk, stormwater, sanitary sewer, and water main improvements in the Northeast 47th Avenue Phase 1 Local Improvement District.
Commissioner Hardesty, good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, colleagues. I'm going to turn this directly over to my able dream team, including Andrew Abbey, Jody Iman, and Paul Suto. Please take it away, Peabody.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardesty. Andrew Abbey, Local Improvement District Administrator. Keelan, could we go ahead and switch to the PowerPoint? Thank you, and we can go ahead and move on to the next slide. So this is a map of the Northeast 47th Avenue Phase 1 Local Improvement District. The map on the right is the larger area where we had detours and traffic control during construction. So you can see we had a pretty wide area of impact during construction, including putting in a new temporary traffic signal at Alderwood and Columbia so that we could actually build this project. Little known fun fact about Northeast 47th Avenue that I just found out about last week, but Northeast 47th Avenue used to extend all the way north to Marine Drive before the Portland Airport was built and expanded, and a runway was built over what was then a northerly extension of 47th Avenue. So as this area has developed, with the Columbia corridor to the east, 47th Avenue and Cornfoot Road have both become very important connection to destinations in this area, not only including the airport, but destinations like the new U.S. postal site that was relocated out of the Broadway corridor. Next slide, please. So the impetus for this project was Parks was building a new park facility at the Whitaker Pond Nature Park, and Parks had a requirement to put in sidewalk along their frontage. And Parks contacted me and said it would be really helpful if we could partner with PBOT so that these sidewalks weren't just an island of sidewalk in front of Whitaker Ponds, but actually connected down to the frequent service bus stop on line 75 at Northeast 47th and Columbia. Next slide, please. And I think this picture really tells the story. So before we did this project, you can see that picture on the left. We had kids getting off the bus stop at 47th and Columbia and walking along the fog line and trying to snake their way in between arborvitae on the left and trucks on the right. You can see that mom in the middle there pushing her stroller with her baby in it down the bike lane. Not a very safe pedestrian environment. Really, our goal on this project was to make the sidewalk so safe, like that picture you see on the right, where we had recently built sidewalks on Northeast Prescott Street and Park Road. The sidewalks were so safe and inviting that the mother in this particular instance was comfortable with her baby simply being out on the sidewalk that we had just built. So we really wanted to build a much more safe pedestrian environment. So we're really happy to enter into that partnership with Parks. Next slide, please. And this is what we wanted to provide access for, so that people could visit Whitaker Ponds and see the beautiful splendor that we know as the Columbia Slough. So this is just a few feet away from the new sidewalk that we built on Northeast 47th Avenue. Next slide, please. So one of the things that was a challenge to PBOT is Northeast 47th was in the rankings of the very worst streets in the city of Portland. PBOT had for a very long time had a desire to reconstruct the pavement on Northeast 47th Avenue. And we made a decision early on that we were going to reconstruct this street, not in asphalt, but in concrete, due to the importance of the street and the freight volumes and the importance of this artery to airport, Columbia corridor, and other destinations. Next slide, please. And really what we wanted to do was to avoid community outrage. What we didn't want to do was to build the street once, to fix the pavement, and then build the street again, or tear up the street again to put in a new water main, tear up the street again, extend sanitary sewer, and then also to extend storm sewer. So we really wanted to do all of the work in a single project. Next slide, please. So this is a picture where we were on the home stretch of construction. You can see that new concrete roadway going in. Just a big difference in the pavement section from what we had before. Next slide, please. And this is kind of a rundown of all of our objectives with the project. I'm not going to read these off one by one, but you can see that we had a lot of objectives with this project, and we wanted to accomplish a lot in a single project. Next slide, please. Cully has a particular infrastructure deficiency. So Cully has 4 miles of unpaved streets. So 1 out of every 14 unpaved streets in the city of Portland are in Cully. You can see here that Cully is 30% less likely, for example, to have a paved street with curb as opposed to streets around the city as a whole. Has a much higher proportion of streets like what Northeast 47th Avenue used to be like, which is a paved street that has no curb drainage or sidewalk facilities, and just a lot of unpaved streets in Cully as well. So next slide, please. And the other factor that we were looking at when we were thinking about pulling together the funding for this project was who would be served by this project. And you can see that we have a very high proportion of African American, Latino households in poverty, single mothers. these are the kind of populations that we really wanted to reach with our infrastructure investment. Next slide, please. And I wanted to wrap up the PowerPoint by just showing you really the incredible financial leverage that we're able to put to work here, and why I'm so grateful with the partnership, not only of Parks, but also with Portland Water Bureau and with BES. So you can see there, I've just chosen a few cost elements of construction. For lack of a better term, that subtotal, you can call those setup costs. So those are really just the project cost of just getting started. So mobilization, $500,000 just to get the contractors set up, bring their equipment out. We spent better part of another $500,000 on traffic control, including flagging. And then we spent $350,000 dealing with contaminated media and removing that. And then we spent a little over $100,000 putting in a temporary traffic signal for the detour. So bottom line is we spent about $1.4 million before we even started putting a foot of new water pipe in or sanitary sewer pipe in, and before we even started reconstructing the roadway. So if you look down there at the bottom of that slide, you can see that the total BES contribution for sanitary sewer was only $676,000. And similarly for Water Bureau, to replace a 100-year-old cast iron water main, which by the way broke right after we had put in the parallel new water main, that was $859,000. So this would have been a really, really expensive project for Water or BES to try to go it alone to replace the water main or to extend sanitary sewer. So that concludes the PowerPoint. I wanted to now, Keelan, just switch over to the video. It's only 54 seconds long, but to really give you a feel for what the street looks like today, it really took a video and not a picture. So if we can just switch over to that short video, we'll watch that video and then switch over to my colleagues from BES and Water. Keelan, do we have that? Thank you very much, Keelan. So before we turn it over to my BES and Water Bureau colleagues, we did have 29 properties that we're proposing to assess by this ordinance. 28 out of the 29 property owners did not submit an objection to final assessment. We did have one objection, and I'd like to respectfully request that the council move a motion to substitute Exhibit E and F to reflect that objection. The ordinance already includes the directive to overrule the objection. Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mayor.
Commissioner Hurst, do we have a second? Second from, is that Commissioner Ryan?
Yeah, I think a couple of us said yes. So.
Oh, okay. I'll give it to Commissioner Ryan. That was the one discernible voice there. Any further discussion on the amendment? And I'll hold off on the vote until we see. Keelan, do we have public testimony on this non-emergency ordinance?
We do, Mayor. We have 5 people.
So why don't we wait to vote on the amendment till after public testimony? Andrew, does that complete your presentation?
It does, Mayor. Thank you. I think we can turn it over to Jody Inman and to Paul Sudo from Water Bureau and BES respectively.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. I'm Jody Inman. I'm the Chief Engineer at the Portland Water Bureau, and I just wanted to say a couple of brief comments. We always appreciate this opportunity to collaborate with our other bureaus to do projects in a way that is fiscally responsible, that is, and also respects the community by, as we said, doing everything at once. This project allowed us to replace some of our oldest pipe in the system, which is at highest risk. And as we know, the historically underserved communities are those that suffer the most when those pipes fail. So we, sounds like we replaced this one just in time. So not only is it safer, we added fire hydrants, but now we can be assured that that pipe will be there and we will not need to disturb the brand new improvements. So a success for all of us all around. I'll turn it over to Paul.
Okay, thanks, Trudy. Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. Paul Sudo, BES Chief Engineer. I'll kind of reiterate a few points already made by Jody and Andrew, but BES is proud to have partnered and collaborated with the various bureaus, PBOT, Parks, and the Portland Water Bureau on this joint project where the bureaus work together effectively in the interest of the whole community here in Portland. From a BES perspective, partnering on this LID delivered clear benefits compared to having BES go it alone, and ultimately saving time and money together. So I think what Andrew presented very clearly was this is a lot more streamlined effort than going, having it each do our parts of the project individually. So some key highlights from a BES perspective: the partnership allowed proper collection and management of stormwater through the installation of stormwater planters, which are more commonly known as green streets, that control and street the stormwater and piping that to the nearby Columbia Slough. This has resulted in improved water quality in the slough and also eliminated the stormwater ponding along Northeast 47th. That was also very common during storm events there. That clearly impacted the community. You can imagine having ponding while that mother was pushing the stroller down the street. So we've successfully eliminated that type of situation. And also with the new sewer line installed, we took a big step in being prepared for migrating the current unsewered properties in the area and connecting future development in the area to our collection system. So that was a big win for us. So I also want to just kind of quickly highlight or thank some of our BES staff that worked on this: Dave Nunemaker, Ryan Cordy, Daniel Jenkins, Ray Lyons, Joe Mays, Alfredo Chavez Perez, Greg Clipfell, and Tim Cook. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the testimony. And Mayor, if I may, I just wanted to really appreciate Commissioner Maps and the real partnership. What the community sees is that the city, right, did this fabulous project. And what they don't know is the behind the scenes coordination that made this project possible. And the real intention of like, let's do it bigger than we could possibly have done. And so I just want to appreciate really the willingness of the Water Bureau, BES, and PBOT to really think outside the box on this project. And I can tell you the community is giddy because of the incredible improvements that come out of this partnership. So I just want to personally put on the record, thank each of you for your part in this partnership. And we do this all the time, but it's rare that we get to actually expose it in public and let the public see how well bureaus really do work together. But it takes the leadership of the commissioners to commit to making that happen as well. So thank you all.
And Commissioner, that completes the full presentation. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Very
and
good.
We do have public testimony.
Very good. Keelan, how many folks do we have signed up?
We have 5 people signed up.
Very good. Why don't we go ahead and give everybody 3 minutes, name for the record, and colleagues, just so you know, I have a excused absence at 10:30. I'll be turning over the gavel to Commissioner Rubio at that time, and I'll let her know when that is. And I appreciate Commissioner Rubio's willingness to preside. Keelan, go ahead and call people up in order.
First up, we have Corky Collier.
Good morning. My name is Corky Collier, Executive Director of the Columbia Corridor Association. I'm here to say some things that you probably don't need to hear, but I really want to make sure you realize how wonderful this project is. It was completed on budget and almost on schedule if it hadn't been for COVID. Take a close look at the numbers. I'm not sure if you can find any city project that hit the budget so closely. It would be nice if the city had an award for best budgeting, because I'm sure this would get it. This project combined contributions from BES, Parks, Water, PBOT, and private property owners, and nobody's complaining, well, except for, I guess, the one objection that I just heard about. It was built in a way that'll be much cheaper to maintain over the long run, which is hard for bureaus to do oftentimes because they're looking at this budget, this year's budget, maybe a few years in advance. In this case, the project is going to save money over 20, 50 years. It created a new street cross section for industrial areas, one that encourages pedestrians and bicyclists to get to Whitaker Ponds and to the Columbia Slough Watershed Council education facilities. The design minimizes obstructions of the view from a truck cab, which is important to truckers, and it doesn't put bicyclists next to those truck tires. It wasn't always easy to develop the design. It took collaboration between the private sector and some great city employees like Andrew Abbey and Nicole Blanchard. The end result is not only success for Northeast 47th, but I think a template for other areas. Nicole Blanchard did a great job of analyzing the design and pushing back on some who weren't quite as objective as we would like. I applaud her common sense. And what can I say about Andrew Abbey? Another successful project. It's starting to get boring. Please find a way to clone this guy. Thank you to Andrew, Nicole, and all of you. Now let's go find another great project.
I just want to say I love it when you come to say that you like us, Courtney. It feels good when you say we did something good. I'm going to walk a little taller today. I just want you to know that. Thank you for being here.
Next up, we have Jana Jarvis.
Good morning, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioner Hardesty, council members. I'm Jana Jarvis, President and CEO of the Oregon Trucking Associations and Chair of the Portland Freight Committee. I'm here today simply to thank PBOT and Andrew Abbey for the project design and implementation on Northeast 47th. When he brought this project first to the Portland Freight Committee, it consisted of all the components that exist currently on that stretch of roadway, but the bike lane was positioned next to the travel lane for trucks and cars. And then there was a barrier and a pedestrian walkway protected from the road. Members of the Freight Committee expressed concern over bikes running alongside large trucks, and Andrew agreed to meet with us to look for a better solution. You can see the design changes that resulted in the roadway, a protected barrier, and then the bike lane next to the sidewalk. Given that trucks, as Corky mentioned, cannot easily see the traffic on the right side next to their truck, this solution was received with strong support, and that's the project you see today. This shows the benefit of the opportunity to give input into these projects, and I want to thank PBOT for their willingness to work with us on behalf of the Freight Committee and the trucking industry. And I also want to thank Andrew for his design solution and his willingness to work with us. I wanted to take the opportunity this morning to tell you about a great project and to thank you and PBOT for your hard work to find an equitable solution. Thanks again.
Next up, we have Laura Young.
Good morning, everyone. I think, excuse me, my name is Laura Young, and I am the former chair of the Coley Association of Neighbors, and I worked very closely with Andrew and the rest of the team on putting this project together. And it was actually 6 years ago today that we came before council the first time over this project. And so I'm so pleased that I can be here and celebrate a success. You know, in a time of so much difficulty, this project was truly amazing. And so I can't really say anything more succinctly than Corky and Andrew already have. So I'm just going to share a couple of comments. Let's see. This project was the result of a unique collaboration between PBOT and Parks, BPS, Water Bureau, local businesses, and community members. And as a result of Andrew Abbey's exemplary leadership on this project, and the coordination between the bureaus, the cost of the project to the property owners along the street was reduced from an overwhelming and untenable 95 to 97% assessment to between 3 and 5% assessment by combining the SDC resources from PBOT, Parks, and BES. It was an extraordinary opportunity for the community. And if any of you had ever been down 47th Avenue before now, I wish that the video had a before and after, so you could just really appreciate the magnitude of change and what it represents to the community. And it's only one of a few projects that PBOT has, and again, due to Andrew's leadership and coordination between bureaus, we've had multiple projects in Coley that have really changed the face of the community for the better and for the entire community. So all community members benefit from these resources and opportunities. And so I just want to say thank you, Andrew, thank you, Corky, and all of the council members who've supported uplifting this community over time. It really is a model that should be replicated throughout the city. So thank you so much for your time.
Next up, we have Diane Warner.
Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great, thank you. Good day, Mayor Wheeler and members of the council. Thank you for allowing me to comment on the design and benefits of the Northeast 47th project. I'm a civil engineer and I represent the Northwest Cement Council, a nonprofit industry trade association that educates and promotes for the use of cement and concrete in sustainable construction and transportation projects in Oregon and Washington. The business owners along Northeast 47th, the city, and Peabot have a long life pavement that will require minimal maintenance for decades to come. Installing pavements that are not susceptible to potholes or shoving and rutting from heavy truck traffic and buses results in huge cost savings for the future operations and maintenance budgets of the city. The project manager, Mr. Abbey, recognized that Marine Drive West, a concrete pavement built in 1992 with a pavement condition index of 100, still almost 30 years later, was great value to the city. And through his scoping phase, he used a full life cycle cost analysis, and he included construction and maintenance cost to determine a rigid concrete pavement rather than a flexible pavement would save the city operation and maintenance costs. Minimal maintenance means minimal impact to residents and businesses, as well as students. Fewer future impacts in traffic and commuting hours is good value in both time and money. Rigid pavements, such as Portland cement concrete, provide fuel savings, and the white reflective pavement will keep that road and adjacent areas cooler. Using a variety of pavement materials in your transportation network will reduce your risk of future material escalation costs as well. The city of Peabot is fortunate to have a savvy transportation engineer in Nicole Blanchard. Nicole's diligence in plan review and construction staging ensured a smooth project timeline and secured a cost-effective pavement. Multiple scenarios were discussed regarding the subgrade and the challenge of managing the high water table in the area. Nicole's experience and design diligence will protect this pavement from water issues. In the early 2000s, before my time in this job, the city had an engineer named Brett Kesterson, who was innovative in his roadway designs with concrete pavements and overlays. It was obvious to me during our discussions that Nicole can continue to carry this torch for Portland's modern and innovative transportation future. I look forward to working with Nicole and Peabot on upcoming projects. I also encourage the city to consider specifying what we call Portland limestone cement for future pavement projects. This can reduce your carbon footprint by at least 10%. Congratulations on a well-coordinated, designed, and built transportation project.
Very good. Thank you. Keelan, how many more people are signed up?
We have one more.
Okay. I'll go ahead and stick around. Thank you.
Next up, we have Pia Welch. Pia, you're muted.
Good morning, Mayor. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, loud and clear. You look great.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. My name is Pia Welch, and I am a volunteer on the city's PFC and BBAC committees. I am still currently employed by FedEx Express at the Portland ramp. Cornfoot Road, 47th are the ways that I go into work. A big thank you to both Andrew Abbey and John Wilson and all the teams across the boroughs for their diligence and timely communication and good work. This multimodal project has provided much needed safety for all people in an industrial air cargo area. I've been traveling on it for quite some time. The excellent project leadership and communication allow me to not only communicate internally, but with other Cornfoot businesses such as the post office and UPS to ensure Both safety was a concern and that air cargo was able to modify routes to ensure the state of Oregon's product flow made critical flight departures out of the airport. Again, a big thank you for everyone's work on a great project. Thank you.
Thank you. And Keelan, that completes public testimony.
It does, Mayor.
Colleagues, any further questions related to this item at this particular time? Please call the roll on the amendment.
Rubio.
Aye.
Ryan.
Aye.
Hardesty.
Aye.
Maps.
Aye.
Wheeler.
Aye. The amendment is adopted. This is a first reading of a non-emergency ordinance. It moves to second reading as amended. And at this point, I will turn the agenda over to Commissioner Rubio, presiding officer. Thank you, Council President Rubio.
Thank you, Mayor.
Excuse me, I just have a question. Is it you guys that have bad sound or is it just me? People sound garbled.
I hear the echo too.
There's an echo thing happening. Yeah.
Good. I thought it was just me. Thank you.
Okay, Keelan, can you please read the next item?
Item 156. Authorize grant agreements with the Black United Fund of Oregon and the Oregon Community Foundation for amount not to exceed $950,000 for Black Leadership Fund program.
It is sounding a little garbled. Keelan.
Oh.
Should we take a 5-minute break and see if we can figure out the sound? I would hate for this to all be garbled.
Okay, yeah, let's take a 5-minute break and reconvene at 10:35. Or actually, that's not, oh, okay, let's do that.
So killing is not.
Yep, we're all ready.
Okay, great. So can we start again and read the next item?
Yes, item 156. Authorize grant agreements with the Black United Fund of Oregon and the Oregon Community Foundation for amount not to exceed $950,000 for Black Youth Leadership Fund programming.
Okay, and since this is a second reading, if there is no further discussion, we can call the roll. Commissioner Hardesty, is there any comments before we call the roll?
No, not at all. But I did want to recognize Dr. Renee Mitchell is here and she's got her team behind her, and just wanted to appreciate the wonderful presentation that she provided us last week, and tell her that the hope of our future is resting on her shoulder, but not by herself. As a community, we're going to do this together. So I just wanted to acknowledge that before we move to the vote. And thank you for being here today, Dr. Mitchell. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardesty. So Keelan, can you please call the roll?
Rubio.
I want to thank Commissioner Hardesty and Kristen from her team for getting the ball rolling and going on this important investment. And I also, again, want to recognize Dr. Mitchell and the folks at Black United Fund and the Oregon Community Foundation for a wonderful presentation last week that reminded us about the love and joy and healing experiences that all Black children deserve to have, and the great plans for this program. So I look forward to seeing the great work from this project move forward. I vote aye.
Ryan.
Thank you, Council President Rubio. And I just want to say, start off by saying, Commissioner Hardesty and also Mayor Wheeler, thank you for your vision, for your wisdom, for bringing this forward at a time when it took courage from the heart to do the right thing. And this collaboration was truly beautiful. That was one of my favorite city council meetings we've had in some time. And as someone that spent a lot of time in the schools, it's all about the engagement between the teacher and the students. It's all about that magical relationship where your vulnerability comes forward and you connect the head and the heart. And that's preparing people for the real world to be the leaders that we need them to be. So Dr. S. Renee Mitchell, you're at the right place at the right time. And I know that you know that because it came out loud and clear. And those of you who are, oh, look at you, it's so wonderful, that are in the little square that I see right now. Look at that beam, look at that love, look at those smiles, they're even cheering. All right, I vote aye.
Hardesty.
It is rare sitting in this seat on council that you get the opportunity to see a dream vision come to life. And I have to say, I am so proud of the work that Mayor Wheeler and I did, both with having a vision, sticking to that vision, and finding the right, bright community light to lead that vision in the community. I have no doubt in my mind that this partnership with the City of Portland, the Oregon Community Foundation, and the Black United Fund will be a model for how we intentionally engage folks who have been left behind by so many of our systems. And because I know Dr. Mitchell personally, I know that this is hard work for her. This is not about a job, a program. This is a life legacy about how you make sure that the next generation of Black kids know they are loved, they are seen, and they are respected. I am proud to vote aye, and I am proud to see what comes out of this work. And for my colleagues, I guarantee you that when Dr. Mitchell and her team comes to us next year with their one-year report back, we are going to be blown away. I have no doubt about that. I am pleased today to vote aye.
I want to thank the mayor, Commissioner Hardesty, Dr. Mitchell, and her team for championing this important project. I too look forward to seeing how this project evolves. I'm excited for it. It's very important work. And for these reasons and more, I vote aye.
Wonderful. So that means the ordinance is adopted. Yay. All right. Keelan, can we do the next item, please?
Item 159, accept guaranteed maximum price of $7,704,032 from Iron Horse Excavation LLC DBA Oxbow Construction for the construction of the downtown Old Town Main Taylor Sewer Rehabilitation Project.
In the mayor's absence, I'm happy to introduce Chief Procurement Officer Biko Taylor to present the report. Welcome, Biko.
Good morning, Commissioner Rubio. So just briefly want to go over the facts around this RFP. On August 6, 2019, Council approved an exemption ordinance 189649 for this project. The estimated construction cost at that time in August of 2019 was $7.1 million even. In a summary, we published a summary and a notice of public hearing on July 12, 2019. The proposal due date was April 15, 2020, and we received 3 proposals. One from Emery & Sons Construction Group, one from Iron Horse Excavation, LLC, and one proposal from James W. Fowler Company. On this project, we had aspirational goals, and I want to get to that point because I know that's important. There was a 22% aspirational goal. 12% of that goal was dedicated to minorities, MBEs, 5% for women, and also 5% of the total goal for co-bid firms. So we are recommending an award to Iron Horse Excavation. This is a CMGC alternative project, meaning that Iron Horse did preside over the design in the first phase, and now we embark on the second phase, which is construction. And I'm happy to answer any questions on this project.
Is there any council discussion or any questions? Commissioner Hardesty.
Thank you, Madam President. Nice bring. And thank you, Director Taylor, for your presentation. Now, when we use this type of contracting, we remove ourselves from the lowest responsible bidder. Is that accurate?
That's accurate.
And when we remove ourselves from the lowest responsible bidder, we set aspirational goals that we expect this contractor to meet, right?
That's correct.
And so the total aspirational goals in this particular contract is 22%. I'm curious as to why we did not set the goal higher for minority and women-owned participation, if in fact our goal is to have more minority and women-owned participation, especially when we have not gone through a RFP process.
Absolutely. So that's my goal. And for future contracts, as I preside, I will be bringing items to council that would allow us and give us autonomy to increase those goals. And so I'm excited about what's on the future, on the horizon for us in that area. I'm excited about the opportunities that we will provide the minority community by being more aggressive in that goal. And so I'm here to be held accountable. That 22%, it looks okay, but that 12% looks terrible. And so I'm here to acknowledge that. And I will be bringing items to council to address that very challenge in our community. However, I will say that we did hire an inclusive contracting manager. I want to thank the commissioners for providing that funding for that role. The inclusive contracting manager will work directly with Oxbow to bring viable, exemplary minority candidates to this project to ensure that not only do we meet this goal, we exceed it. So we have several subsegments of work share that we feel we can exceed these goals in, some including trucking, paving, AC paving restoration. So we have a plan, and we will work with Oxbow to ensure that we achieve these goals.
Let me just say how refreshing. Every time you come in front of this council, Director Taylor, I try to have to hold my composure because I just want to jump up and down and go, man, did we find the right person for this position? I am very grateful for your thoughtfulness. And like I know this project was moving forward before you were here. But I am always impressed with both your responsiveness and your desire to actually have us do much better than we, the city, think we can do. So I appreciate your response, and I'm good. I'm good. I will verify as always, but I am good. I appreciate your responsiveness. Thank you.
Thank you for the encouragement.
Thank you. So is there any other questions from our colleagues? Okay, if there's no further discussion, is there a motion to accept the report?
So moved.
Commissioner Hardesty moves. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Ryan seconds. Keelan, can you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, President Rubio. I called the roll in the wrong order last time, so I'm going to reset. So Ryan is first.
Thank you. Thank you, Director Taylor. You are very honest and committed and clear in your role. And it is, to echo the words of Commissioner Hardesty, it's refreshing. And your presentation was very informative. And this project is very necessary. So thank you for the update, and I vote aye.
Hardesty.
Thank you for your due diligence, Director Taylor. I have confidence that you will exceed the goals that are in this particular contract, and you will continue to make us better because you are here. I'm happy to vote aye.
Maps.
I'm glad to see this important project move forward. I vote aye.
Rubio.
I too am glad to see the project move forward, and I just also want to join my colleagues in really appreciating you, Director Taylor, in your clarity and transparency about where we are and knowing where we want to go. So thank you for that, and I vote aye.
You're on mute, President.
Sorry about that. Okay, so the report is accepted. So we're done with that one. So Keelan, can you please call the next item?
Yes, thank you. Item 160, pay settlement of Kyle Odell's bodily injury lawsuit for the sum of $400,000 resulting from a motor vehicle collision involving the Portland Police Bureau.
So Keelan and colleagues, I think this item will be rescheduled to March 9, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. Is that correct, Keelan?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, great. Can we move on to the next item?
Item 161, approve application under the multiple unit limited tax exemption program under the inclusionary housing program for Madera Main Street located at 1155 Southwest 19th Avenue.
Great, thank you, Keelan. Commissioner Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Council President Rubio. Today, we have an inclusionary housing project before us, which is entitled to a tax exemption by city code. The Portland Housing Bureau staff will be doing a presentation for this item. Also, I want to alert the council and interested parties that RFP is currently soliciting through the city's procurement office for an analysis of the IH program that will provide further clarity to council on the program later this year. I think I have both Dory and Matthew here. Which one of you is going to take the show off? You got it, Matthew?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, sure, thanks.
Good morning, members of council. For the record, Matthew Schaubold with the Portland Housing Bureau. So as usual, when we bring these ordinances to City Council, an update on the overall program. As of January of 2022, we estimate that there are at least 1,500 inclusionary housing units, either open or somewhere in the production pipeline. We're also pleased that the majority of these units are at 60% AMI and below, and that our bedroom distribution count is better than the marketplace itself. Today, we're here for an approval on the Madera Main ordinance at 1155 Southwest 19th Avenue. The Madera project is a 337 unit building. They are choosing the 10% of units at 60% AMI option under the inclusionary housing program. In addition, they are also choosing the bedroom reconfiguration option, which is why it is on the regular agenda and not consent. One thing we do want to flag is that you may have noticed in the impact statement that the IH units, which are predominantly consolidated into 3-bedroom units, are smaller than some of the other market rate units at the 1- and 2-bedroom level in the building. This project was vested prior to the April administrative rule changes that we made in response to some of the feedback from council around concerns that we were starting to see program participants consolidating into large bedroom count units that had small square footage. So had this project come in after those rules had been changed, they would not be meeting our current rules, but they were vested ahead of time, and so they have met all of the obligations of the code and administrative rules when the project first came in the door. That being said, the Housing Bureau still does recommend approval, as the 3-bedroom units at 60% of the median income are highly needed in Portland overall and in this area of town. So with that, Dory and I are happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Matthew. And I'll turn it back to you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Hardesty.
Thank you, Matthew. As always, you do a very thorough job. And, my only concern continues to be these huge units that are built for singles that we stick 3-bedroom units into. And as you know, I don't disagree, we need 3-bedroom units, but when you have over 330 units built for singles and you stick families in there, how do you think their lived experience is going to be?
I agree, Commissioner. I think that is a concern, that some of the buildings we've seen come through the program do have square footages that are probably more appropriate for the 1 and 2 bedroom, which is why the Bureau is supportive of the efforts that you and Commissioner Ryan and other members of council asked us to move forward on those changes to administrative rules. So it is a concern, and we're happy to know that, juxtaposing this project with our new rules, that if this were to come through, the 3 bedrooms would have had to be larger and more at a size that's more suitable for families. So unfortunately, this is one that was vested before those changes, but moving forward, hopefully those changes that we all worked on together will address that. And if not, we can always make additional changes.
Has the survey started yet?
So we are in the process. We've executed a IGA with Portland State University School of Social Work. They have started to work on their methodology for surveying the residents. I believe we have a meeting set up next week to walk through their proposed methodology, and they'll start contacting the existing buildings and the existing tenants. And then on the market analysis side, we have, as Commissioner Ryan mentioned, we have a RFP out. I believe it closed Monday or Tuesday of this week, and so we should be getting those proposals from procurement services fairly shortly.
I really appreciate, us just continuing to put on the record that this is just something that we have to pay close attention to, because I'm always concerned when we put children into a building built for singles that the complaints are going to be immediate and consistent. And I don't want any family to not feel at home in their home.
I definitely concur, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Right. Any more questions from our colleagues? Okay, Commissioner Ryan, any last words?
No, I'm good. Thank you for asking, okay. Council President.
Thank you. Since this is a first reading, this will move on to a second reading. So we will move forward. So Keelan, can you please call the next item?
Item 162, amend additional requirements for sale, use, and possession of fireworks and pyrotechnics code to clarify unlawful fireworks, aerial luminary devices, and pyrotechnics.
Great. Thank you, Keelan. Since this is a second reading, if there is no further discussion, we should call the roll.
Ryan.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Hardesty and Chief Boone, first of all, for your leadership at Portland Fire and Rescue to bring this forward. It's extremely important. It's extremely time sensitive. It's a dynamic ordinance that did bring in a lot of dialogue and a lot of reflection. I actually have been pondering all morning how I'm going to vote on this, and I'll tell you why. I'll try to be brief. So my early childhood, I knew that my dog didn't like fireworks, and my dog was my best source of comfort. And so having my dog be shook up, I'll just never forget that. And then I had older brothers who served in military conflicts, and I was able to notice how it impacted them. So from a very early age, I had some anti-firework beliefs, if you will, just because of how it caused harm to those that I cared about. I also was the kid that was always involved in everything about raising money for the activities I was doing. And yes, there were firework stands that, kids groups are connected to. So I was concerned about what I thought wasn't a process that brought them in early so that they could make decisions that would help them with how to adjust to this. I'm a big believer in slopes, not cliffs. And so it felt a little bit abrupt. And then I also questioned why I wasn't hearing more about other municipalities surrounding us, meaning the Greshams, the Hillsborough, Beaverton, and hoping for a unified effort on how we move forward with this. And I know that this can still be pursued. But what's bringing me to my vote right at this moment is the fact that it's 2022, and what happened last summer with the peat bomb is probably not going to be just an occurrence that pops up every decade. We're in a climate crisis that's forcing everybody to look at their pleasures they get out of life and then wonder what ones do we need to let go of as we all lean in collectively to do everything we can to preserve our precious planet as long as we can, and what little role can we play? And then you couple that with the compelling data from Fire on just what the impact of fireworks when we don't have a ban and when we do have a ban. My own personal lived experience lately is where I usually don't want to leave my house on 4th of July, and I have my hose ready as the neighborhood turns into a little bit of a zone of flares. And so I wasn't surprised last year that we saw a big dip in the incidence of fire. So I do wish there was a better process. I do hope that we keep working with local municipalities so it has more of an impact in our region. And I do respect Chief Boone's presentation and Commissioner Hardesty's commitment to doing the right thing at the right time. So just right at this moment, I'm really clear about my vote, and I vote aye. Thanks.
Hardesty.
I am grateful that we heard the testimony last week from the fire marshal and from Chief Boone. There is no question that this ban will save lives. We know that we are in a climate disaster, and we know that these severe weather temperatures, wildfires are not going to end anytime soon. As a community that's committed to climate mitigation, we must change behavior. And I do not support a ban lightly, but the data is clear that with the ban, calls to 911 are significantly reduced, and injury and death to community members are significantly reduced. There is nothing to do but vote yes for this and to work with other stakeholders to find alternative fundraising opportunities rather than what we have been accustomed to. Thank you, colleagues. I vote yes.
I'd like to thank Commissioner Hardesty for bringing this item forward. And I would also like to recognize the fireworks advocates who testified before council on this item. I hear the fireworks community's frustration, and I even concede this. the fireworks advocates raised some compelling points. In particular, I wish there had been more dialogue with the public and the fireworks industry on this ordinance as it was being drafted. Still, on balance, I conclude the arguments in favor of a fireworks ban outweigh the arguments against a fireworks ban. I'm led to this conclusion by both my head and my heart. And today, let me start out by sharing what's in my heart. This morning, I'm thinking about July 4, 2021. That was a sad and tragic day here in Portland. Early in the morning on that July 4th, fireworks triggered a 4-alarm apartment fire on Northeast Weidler. 3 people died in their fire. Their names were Robert Gramillion, Seth Thompson, and Kelsey Edmonds. Robert and Seth were both 31 years old when they died. Kelsey was 26 years old when she died from her burns. And that was just one fire. On the same day, Portland saw 3 fires caused by fireworks. 4 people were injured in those fires. 3 of them died. That's part of an historic pattern here in Portland. For example, the year before, July 4, 2020, Portland saw 18 fires caused by fireworks. And the year before that, July 4, 2019, 21 fires in Portland were caused by fireworks. And the year before that, July 4, 2018, 18 fires were caused by fireworks. 2 people were injured in those fires. And the year before that, July 2004, 2017, 20 fires in Portland were caused by fireworks. And the year before that, July 4, 2016, 17 fires were caused by fireworks. 1 person was injured in those fires. The pattern is clear. Here in Portland, fireworks consistently cause fires, injuries, and deaths. Now, I enjoy fireworks as much as any Portlander. But here in Portland, the pleasure we derive from lighting off fireworks does not outweigh the cost in human life, human suffering, and property damage caused by fireworks. Now, I'm not arguing that fireworks should be banned in all places and out all times, but I do hold the position that setting off small explosive rounds in a dense urban setting like Portland is inappropriate. And for those reasons and more, I vote aye.
Rubio.
I, like so many other people, have a lot of childhood memories about celebrating 4th of July with my family, including with fireworks. But as some of my colleagues have mentioned already, with climate change on our doorstep, the decisions we make during these times are highly consequential for our environment and for our community. And we absolutely need to preserve a future for both. And this means making personally hard changes to behaviors and traditions that might be nostalgic or cultural pastimes for us, but aren't worth the trade-offs to our lives. And the truth is that our vulnerable economy right now cannot continue to weather extreme heat, wildfires, and smoke, and our people cannot either. And I admit this is a very difficult transition, even from within my own family, but I agree 100% with this proposal direction. We're living in a time where we simply have no other option. And I also want to make sure and just raise up that I hope that I want to continue working closely with the community and education campaigns all along the way. And also regarding citations, they can become critical impediments to those who don't have the financial ability to pay. But I know that Commissioner Hardesty and Chief Boone also care very deeply about these kind of impacts too. So I trust that this will receive the thoughtfulness and attention that it merits. But overall, this is the direction that we need to go in. And I'm very grateful, Commissioner Hardesty, to you for bringing this forward. And I look forward to seeing how this reduces, the impacts on our environment. I vote aye. So the ordinance is adopted. So Keelan, can you call the next item, please?
Yes, it's item 148, the item that was pulled from consent.
Okay, so item 148 has been pulled from the consent agenda, but it will be rescheduled for March 16, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Madam President, may I read the title really quick? Just so we have
I'm
it on the
sorry.
record? Okay, thank you. Item 148, pay settlement of Julia Leggett bodily injury lawsuit for the sum of $12,000 involving the Portland Police Bureau.
Okay, so item 148 has been pulled, but will be rescheduled to March 16, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, Keelan, is there anything else?
No, that completes our business.
Okay, well, our agenda is finished. And so with that, we are adjourned, colleagues. Have a great day.